but you can tune in from anywhere in the world, live now during the performance, or afterward when it will be by the end of tonight anyway, up on YouTube for your enjoyment. We have the one from last month up on YouTube. I'm Dick Miller. I'm featured in it, and I'm featured in it rather poorly. I want to address that very briefly. As some of you know, I have several diseases. Of the several diseases, I have even more pills and such. And I'm aging. And Jill and I both had COVID at the beginning of August, in addition to the other issues. COVID, apparently now people are beginning to realize, has a very likely chance of leaving the person afterward with short-term memory loss. Some of my disease issues might be similar. My aging might be an excuse for that. And the combination of pills that I'm taking was almost surely somewhat wrong last month. That's a lot of possibles, but the bottom line is I was having a lot of short-term memory loss, and it was really showing. The pill change didn't happen till a week or more later, and they say it might not all kick in with results on me until a month. So we're running an experiment today. We'll see whether it got fixed. It's almost fixed, or it's not going to get fixed. We're just getting one more data point. And I apologize for the rough recording you've got from last month. We may go back over and edit some of that, but I think it's workable anyway. That's the explanation I think a bunch of you were wondering about. So for today,
given how long, Dick,
what?
Given how long it takes to get over the rest of COVID after you're mostly over COVID, I wasn't terribly surprised.
I can answer briefly.
I was afraid you were overextending yourself.
Possibly. I should add that to the possibles list. The day before this meeting is often pretty busy for us. And in fact, today, more so than usual, as I'll cover, hopefully. So we'll run that experiment too. I can tell you what I've read on the subject and what my doctors have referred me to on the subject. And the bottom line is they're still finding out. The latest indications are that the COVID will make you less likely to be hospitalized when you catch it again. Unlike the earlier theories, you'll probably catch it again, but less likely to be hospitalized if you're keeping up your booster shots. Catch 22. I have to wait a month for my booster shots. I just became eligible. And we're busy today, so tomorrow that's on the list. I've had all my booster shots up to there, no problem. They told me just don't go get it until then. And I think it doesn't much matter which one I get. I'm going to stick with Pfizer on their general recommendation. So the answer is the one thing we do know from new news is that the recovery, the booster shot, you're feeling great, don't have a whole lot to do with this retained short-term memory loss. It does not affect everybody who's had it, but it's apparently very popular out there, and I'm finding that out.
Absolutely.
So we'll see.
I tell you, I feel like I've aged a decade in the last 3 years.
Yeah, it's been an interesting time.
And you know what? That's better than the alternative.
Yes.
Yeah.
How does it go? Death is nature's way of telling you to slow down. Uh, I try to keep that in mind, except the day before the meeting. Uh, Jill and I are going to do something a little different today as a result, and that is Jill is going to do all the switches on Jitsi while I look at my notes and prepare for the next item instead of doing both at once. That might be a big help. I might be a lot better anyway. It hasn't been showing a whole lot on other issues, but it's not gone either. The question is, how much is it under control? And the other thing we'll try is uh, we've got a lot of other speakers today, and I'll try to take some breaks, especially if it's indicated. So that's what the update is from last month. For this month, we've got a wonderful agenda, and let's see if I can put it up online somewhere for you. First, I'll go find it. And I think I want to do that before you do switching, right, Joe?
Well, yeah.
So I will go online, and somewhere up here I have mail. There it is. Thunderbird. It's open. It's got what I want.
Now you want to share the screen.
And where to? I'll let you do that. You said you would.
Yep. Down here, share screen. Select window or screen.
And this agenda
Wait a minute.
may get additional modifications depending on the meeting, but it's already pretty close to the final one. And everyone who's on the email list for this group will notify them when we post the final.
Does everyone see the agenda now?
Yes.
Good. And
Yes,
let's
it's good.
see. Perfect. It's just filling. The part up high doesn't count, but starting with FOSS user group, draft agenda, that's the part that counts, and it ends with questions and answers, which will be at the finish. So we've got what we want. I am going to switch it. First, I'll just say on the introductory slide. Pardon?
Well, stranger in my life.
Somebody has their microphone on.
That was Donna.
If she could please turn her microphone off.
And remember to turn them on when you want to say something. Okay. For those who are new, this is the FOSS user group in Natick, and we're online, so we're in Natick and everywhere else, with the possible exception of the International Space Station. No, I think we're there too. And you can find it now and participate, or find it now and just watch, or find it later and just watch. And of course, you can always email in between meetings. Hi. I think I'm going to go right into the FOSS news, other than saying that free open source software is free. And for programmers, it's open source. They can go in to improve it, or they can go in to take something from it to improve their project. So everyone is standing on the shoulders of giants. Things develop quickly and wonderfully. And the experts can look in for the beginners and see if it's a clean program or it's carrying malware. You can't do that with proprietary code. We like it a lot, and let's proceed. I've got some items in the FOSS news that belong in other categories as well, but because they're new, I moved them to here. First one has been getting active on our Discuss channel that goes every day online, and it has to do with OpenSSL. You're using this on your computer. It recently got an upgrade that was critical They just recently got things a little more under control and offered an upgrade with patch. So now it's just considered to be very close to critical. And they want you to upgrade to it unless you already have something that's okay. And there's a bunch of trade offs on that. And I think this link will get you to what you need to know to find out if you're already up to date or if you better get up to date quite quickly, or if it's not an emergency issue for you. You might have already, through your normal updates, we get them daily, um, you might already be covered for this issue. But you want to read it and find out. We can come back and discuss it more later. I know it's been under discussion, but I want to get that much open out front. It probably ought to go under our computer security, I think, but it's hot news. Uh, I believe the patch came out 2 days ago. Uh, pass keys. Half of you know what I'm talking about, and half of you don't. I can tell because when I went to look up an optimal link to attach to it, I found that half of all the links that came up in my search were talking about passwords and not passkeys. So a lot of people don't know about it. Interesting, because passkeys are an improvement on passwords, or so we hope. And they've been getting talked about and worked on for 50, I mean 50 years. And finally, a bunch of the major players have issued a joint passkey solution, which you're invited to try online just as a test, or maybe to build into what you're doing and how to do it. If it's reliable, and my personal advice is for this week, assume it's not. Again, it's hot off the press. Give it a couple of weeks.
4 months.
Let's hear what people are saying about it. But you can play with it, especially if you're knowledgeable. And it's big news. When it's reliable, which may be now, um, it will replace passwords, I think, completely, certainly almost completely. Instead of different passwords for different things, you'll have one passkey, and everything you need for passcodes for passwords will be in the passkey app, ready to use and ready to be more malware proof than anything that's preceded it. That's exactly what it's about. My question, and I hope yours will be, are we there yet or not? We've certainly hit a big milestone, and I hope next month somebody here will have a lot to say about it. Does anyone have more to say about it today, or is that it? And we wait. You've got a good item to read in the.
I have something to say.
Okay, Jill.
My question, since it appears from what I've read to rely on things like facial recognition or fingerprints, or the internal similar thing that goes for your hardware, and it connects it together. So you have to have at least two of your pieces of equipment both using Bluetooth so that it can check to see if your phone is near your computer when you try to log in and things like that. I am wondering what happens when you die. How can your heirs get in, either save your online data or cancel your accounts or whatever? It sounds like it would make that extremely more difficult than it is now. Now they have to find your list of passwords, but then you're not there for them to scan your eyeball, for them to scan your face, or for them to scan your fingerprint. And what happens if you lose your phone and you can't have your phone next to your computer to verify that it's really you?
Jill,
Yes.
there is an alternative. Look up the FIDO Alliance, FIDO, all caps.
Yes.
You can use a dongle or a token.
Yes, but the person has to have the dongle.
Yes, you do
And-
have to give instructions as to where to get it and how to activate it.
Ah, you mean you can switch to the dongle rather than the regular way of doing it, so you could keep it in your safe deposit box?
Yeah, if you have a dongle, I believe it can override everything else.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
In Windows 11, they're doing a lot with this, and they are pushing FIDO with a physical pass key.
The other question we came up with yesterday is where does Linux sit on this? It's conspicuously absent from the home base website where they have columns, and there's a column not for Linux, but for Ubuntu. And it seems to be curiously unpopulated where there are check marks or comments in the other columns. However, it looks to me like primarily it's your web browser that will want the extra features. I'm not sure yet. So that's another question. If anyone, my bottom line question is, should we play with it now or wait? Is anyone ahead of us on that question? Not hearing an answer, I would advise let's talk about it next month. Adventurers will try it in the meantime, and the article you're going to click on will have good links to other ones as well. I think you'll be in good shape. Okay. The next article, I don't even really want to talk about, except other people are talking about it. And I thought it had some interesting clues. AI originally was programmed to seem human, and then it learned how to start acting like human and learning like human. And AI that's taught itself almost everything other than how to teach is beginning to look remarkably like how the human brain works, to the degree that where the differences occur, they're looking at both what they know about the human brain and the AI to learn more about both. In short, it's been evolving in a very parallel track. That's interesting. So those of you who like that might want to get that hot off the press information.
And my question to that statement is, maybe it learns like humans because it was designed by humans.
That could be.
If even.
It's catering to humans. We'll know more when we know more. Going to the opposite, FOSS history, we just celebrated Halloween one way or another. And there's a famous set of documents that got released by accident from Microsoft in 1998. A lot of people don't like Microsoft today because of what they learned from the Halloween documents and what they've seen continued. And since Microsoft is now quite active with Linux, I think it's time to reread this. So I tossed in a good article for reading about it. I think you'll enjoy it. Not urgent, but maybe compelling for some people all the same. Now we come to stuff that we are more directly using. Um, there's software that's just been released late last month, and that includes the whole Ubuntu set of Linux and a few other ones. The Ubuntu one releases twice a year with new versions. It might have updates every single day, but as far as a new version, it's going to be in late April and in late October. And every even numbered year, the April version will be a long-term support version. Instead of you updating in 9 months because it'll lose its support and you want to go forward, the long-term support versions are good for 5 years or longer maintained. And some people just don't want to see anything new. They just want their stuff to keep running. And it's a good solution for a lot of those applications. I've got both on my computer. I can boot into either one, but I'm running from the brand new 22.10 Ubuntu, except I'm running the Ubuntu-Unity, which has a different front end, a different look. It's running the same software down underneath. So we'll be talking a little more about that throughout. I'll simply be using it as we demo, but why don't I go in quick now and show you where you can find it in 2 ways. First of all, over at Ubuntu, we're going to come to this later, but I'll do it now. We're going to be talking about pop-up windows for tracker settings. And this is a good example. My Firefox bopped me into this, and it's set up in a way that's unique to this website. And it says, accept all.
Cookies, that is.
Or let's see how they're tracking us and what part of that we don't want to allow. This is very valuable if it's not a site you know all about and fully trust. And let's see what the choices are. This one, accept all, is the one I didn't want to do. So we scroll down, and it's telling us about all of them. But what's more important is it says these are the ones we can choose, and they're currently turned off. I can click either one to turn it on, or click it again to turn it off. And when I've got them the way I want, save it. Now we're going up to Ubuntu, and their tracking of us is set the way we asked for. You've covered that one down lower, Jill.
Yes.
Good. And
do you want to say it covered it entirely?
And the fellow in charge of Canonical, which puts out Ubuntu, is from South Africa. They use British English and other things like Swahili. But so hence the Ubuntu flavors. It works with flavors, also ORS. And these are officially backed versions. There's plenty of other versions based on Ubuntu, but these versions are based on Ubuntu and officially supported through Ubuntu, as well as through their own home base. So here for Lubuntu, a little one, light, fast, and modern, you can join its community, you can follow it, or you can just get it and set it up and start it running. Many others. And the big news is, whoops, the new one in town. So Ubuntu Unity, our personal favorite, is now aboard official, and they're featuring both the new 22.10 And they've slipped in the 22.04 LTS that was not official while it was the latest one. But it's the latest LTS and it's aboard too. So it's nice that they're aboard, but you can also just hop right aboard with Ubuntu. And
You should have called it.
I'm sorry, with Ubuntu Unity going direct to it. And indeed, that's what I did here. I gave you a link to it as well. This goes straight to what the other one was talking about. And you can click on the download button up there, where you can read a little more about it. By the way, this fellow isn't local either, but his English is pretty clean and slangy too. So got questions for you. This is the long-term.
He's 14 years old or 15?
He's now 13 years old, and he's brilliant. It's a pleasure working with him. We do some beta testing and such, and you could too. And I really like it. There's a review of the first one that was released, some testimonials, and I thought there's going to be another download down there. Okay, so you can go see his downloads from here. And if you do, there you go. 22.10 is what I'm running now, and 2 flavors for getting it. And in addition to that, 22.04.1, which is the latest LTS release. There's others you can get as well, but those are the ones of direct interest, I think, to everybody. So there you have that.
Oh, I think you want to close.
Yes, I do. This one too.
Yep. How you want to?
Now you want to set me back to there while I go check the notes.
There you are.
Good. And let's see. Where am I? Who am I?
Photox 2241.
So we think Ubuntu Unity is very nicely done, very considerately done for beginner users and for advanced users. And if you don't know, give it a try and make your own decision. You can set up a thumb drive or any other firmware that'll hold software. And at MMS here, if you live near us or if you want to wait for it to come in the mail and we'll charge you extra, we can mail you a thumb drive already prepared with it, ready to boot up without affecting your hard drive or your SSD. It'll just run in memory. If you like it enough, it will have the ability for you to install it when and if you decide to. And for those who are savvy enough, you can certainly do that all on your own. I'll mention ours again a little later, but I'm mentioning it because if you want to give it a try and don't know how, the answer is you download that item and you get it onto a bootable thumb drive. Then you can play with it and later install it. My recommended route to go. I'm going to skip ahead. Another program that just released, and I mean 2 days ago, is a big update for Photox. Not big in terms of changing most of the features, but it's got some nice new features, and it's had me getting twice as tired as usual for 2 running days and a half.
Staying up past midnight.
It was 22.35 until Tuesday. And Tuesday, it jumped up to 22.40. As of this morning, you'll see that it's 22.41. And that's because Its author and we and a few other people have been running fast to correct some interesting problems we discovered. I'm glad to say we're running very smoothly on it now, and I recommend you give it a try. You can go backward or forward as you wish, and if you just, let's see, if you just go hither, let's see where you get to. Okay, the list will get you right to his own homepage, and it goes to 22.41. See it? November 3rd. See it? Now, pay close attention. Don't use it. Why not? Because after he goes through tar installations, he comes to what we do recommend, and he recommends, whoops, overshot a bit.
Yes.
Come on, I'm almost where I want to be. Is that it? Nope. Yes. Bouncing a little on my touchpad here. Can you do that?
Yeah.
Good, right? Go up to the title of that subtitle. Good. App image packages. And here's the list of the packages. And he recommends this if you're equipped to do it. I think most everyone on Linux is equipped to do it now. So this is the one you want, the app image install. Just scroll down to it where I gave you the link. And it's, again, brand new today, and it's running fine.
So you download the app image and then go to the installation procedure, which basically involves changing the permissions because it downloads without allow executing. And you change that, and then click on it, double click on it, and it installs itself very quickly.
Let's take a look at what that means, because I think this is the world's greatest combination between free, easy, and powerful in the way of photo editing and photo storing and finding the library and photo sharing, photo slideshowing, the whole bit. We'll do a little bit with it, but the first thing I want to do is go up to where I told you to go. You just click on this and it gives you the choice to download it, and you say where you want to put it. In some downloads area you keep on your disk probably, and then you go to that area and look at it. Do I have?
You don't have it open.
I don't have files open, but I'll get it. Files in Ubuntu Unity is now Nautilus, back from Nemo. And so I'm not going to downloads. Downloads, this is for this one version of Ubuntu. I'm going to go to user data, which on my hard drive is where I put everything that isn't unique to one version of one operating system. And in there, I have a downloads. That's so all of them can get to it. And in it, distributions like Ubuntu Unity and Fedora and
ISO
Ubuntu,
files.
ISO files for different items. But here's the action. And in here, Linux apps, and there it is, Photox. This is downloads for Photox. And here's the one I got. That's the actual app image just sitting there. And I'm going to right click on it. No, I won't. Oh, if I double click on it, it's going to load again, which I don't really want right now. Let's see if I can do it that way.
You want open, oh, wait a minute. You want properties, right?
Let's look at properties and see. Good. If you click on properties on it when you get it, just click on it and properties will be one of the options. And then on permissions, here's the big secret. all of this will probably be set up the way it should be, except for this checkbox. And without this checkbox, it won't load. So all you have to do is put it somewhere, like in a downloads folder, and then you go and click on this checkbox. And once you do, you simply close it. And now you can double click on it and it will load it onto your computer, but maybe not into your launcher. And if that's the case, you just, I'll close this now for the moment, and I'll go up to my launcher. I have the icon for it, but if you don't have it, you go into the launcher's dash or your operating system's equivalent and go find it. If you're not seeing it, you know it's an application and you might find it that easily. Or you might bite the bullet and say,
There it is.
and there it is. And you can just drag it right over into your launcher where you like. So that's my extra clue, in addition to what Jill said, and we walked through it to show you. It's really easy. Then it'll prompt you and ask you, where are your pictures? What is the root folder or folders that you wanted to automatically access? And once you've done all that, I don't have Photox open, but I'll open it. Won't take long. It knows where to go now, and it's riffling through, and it's making new thumbnails for anything it hasn't already made a thumbnail for the last time I loaded it. If I did work in between, oh, nice. I'm going to demonstrate this a little later, and you'll like it. But it went right back because of my settings in Photox, not just to my set of images, but to the very one I was working on and wanted it to come back to. That's an option in Photox too. It's quite wonderful, and it's got a lot of good documentation. I'll come back to that.
By the way,
But that's how easy it is. If I want to see my favorite pictures, I'm in a special mode. I'll come back to this later. That's a demo too, set up.
go to top.
Well, I think what I want to do is go back to where I was, which
I
maybe I can do from here.
Nope.
Nope. Okay.
Think you need to go to
Can't
top.
do it there either. Too bad. And back to where I came in, sort of. Okay. And there are my pictures file, but it's going to have more in it too. It's going to have albums within it. So later for that, the point is there's a lot in here and we can go find it when we want. What we want now is,
You wanted your default.
oh, maybe I am going to tell you now. Now that you know how to get it and get to it and open it up, I'm going to demonstrate two new tricks in its box that I thought were rather nice. One is called Gallery Screen. I'm just learning how to use it. But Gallery, and right click on Gallery. No?
No, just regular click.
Single click on Gallery, okay. And Gallery Screen. This is new. There's a lot of things within Photox. Gallery Screen is an additional way to select out. And by the way, I'm running something like, I think 86,000 images.
63,000.
63,000?
Yeah.
Ooh, cleaned them out. Good.
I guess.
And I've got 60 subfolders under this one. And in this one, we're looking at 185 files, it's telling us. I guess we are. So that's what we're doing right now. It came in somewhere around here. And I have various ways to find specific files within that huge group. But here's a new way. And it will open up a special gallery with the selection I have. So it'll be sitting there alongside the other things I'm doing. That can be very helpful. And it has options, it has non-options. Photox has a wonderful secret weapon. If you're at this point and you want to know more about it, just hit the F1 button. And in a moment, you will be in copious documentation, but exactly at the right point within it for what you want to know. And this one, I think, also has a short video demo, and you can look at search images for the more general version I had. This one has advantages for many uses. So I think we'll be using it. And we just got to see it this morning, but we've already used it.
And by the
So-
way, the include and exclude only work in the current folder. They don't
go through all the subfolders.
go through all the subfolders, and they are based on the name of the file as opposed to tags that you've put into the file, into the various photos.
So I could have tags, I could have
Thank you, Joe.
comments, and I can have a file name. My file names, if you look up here, you'll see a few. No, you won't. I'll open one. I don't want to do that. I want to go back to that one I had. To be continued. And so that's the gallery screen tool. And they've improved the defog tool, and they've improved it so much that I'm going to see if I can get Mike's original demo of it to show you. And that would be in my mail, way down in my mail. Oh,
Go back to inbox.
make it an inbox. Oh, not what I wanted. Botox. And remember I told you it just turned to 2241?
It's not
See a
20.
lot of conversation going on. This is last night. Here's the one I'm looking for. This is what, less than 2 weeks old. And this is what Mike had to tell us about it. As an advance clue, that's the before and after of the new defog tool. And you have to look twice, but the one on the right looks a lot more sharp. It isn't. They're the same sharpness. The one on the left is foggy. And the difference is really nice, especially blown up extra large. So that's a bit of a description of it. Now,
Just close this. Control W.
were you?
Control W. You want to close this one and go back to your.
I'll just switch to it. Oh, you're right. Thank you, Joe. And
We'll go to NatickFOSS.org.
And now let's see if we can do something with it. We did a 2-in-1. First, I went to find the gallery screen tool to find what I was looking for in my big set. And
I think you want to Do it with Meta.
Do it all over?
Do it with Meta.
Well, I think I have it in here. Okay, why not?
You left it.
The example, well, wait a minute, is that the example of a copy of that? We'll try. I'll use Meta for the moment
Okay, down there.
because I'm good at it. I'm just meeting the other. And here we have,
You want Thunderbird? I have Photox stick. the
yeah.
one.
Oh, here I am. And it's still where it is. It didn't open a second one, I think. And
Meta search images.
Metadata is in the list as meta. And I want to search in the metadata for each one of those many thousands of images. To do it, I'll first,
Click.
I want to,
No,
click
just click on Meta
okay, just click on it
and then search.
and search. I want to search through the metadata. And oh, good, it's set up the way it was set up. And I'm going to look through my zillions of pictures for ones where they're tagged with a tag named weather. And there it is. And I already have it in as a tag. It could be in the text saved with the image. It could be in the file name, but we'll do it this way. And look for ones about weather. It says proceed. It's working. Look at the work going on up top. And this is what it found. And in fact, this is the very one you saw a little earlier. These are all pictures where I tagged them with weather. Let's look at it. That's a foggy picture. I don't know what those blurry streaks are up higher. I just don't know.
If there's water on your windshield.
But it's taken in 2005 in Canada. And let's see what we can do with it by going into repair and defog. Look at the other ones. There's a lot of good tools in here for improving images, and some of them do it stunningly. This one's a lot nicer than it was before. And again, want to know what it's all about, hit F1. And here's the defog clues right ahead of the red eye clues. And he's got an example before and after that's quite nice. So that isn't too shabby. Didn't help any. And oh, sorry.
Close it, Dick.
Okay, I guess I will. The whole user guide.
Yes.
And let's see what we've got here. First thing you have to do, apparently, is to get some amplitude up here, because if you don't, these don't do much.
Why did it take it down to zero?
However, try that for starts.
That made it worse.
This might make it better, yes. And now we can do some fine tuning. And like that, it's infinitely better already, and I haven't begun to play with it. It's actually a pretty sharp photo now that I can see it. I'm going to like this one a lot. Again, I just missed this new version. I just met this new version about an hour before the meeting. So that's what we're playing with today. Gets exciting at times.
You, Dick,
I'm going to like it. Yes.
before you try a fiddle mode like this fog haze that has several controls, I'd recommend trying the global Retinex.
I think that's a very good suggestion. Global Retinex. Another trick is to do some sneaky work between contrast and brightness. So might bring the contrast up and the brightness down to kind of balance them out to something sort of kind of like this. But this is the nicest thing I've played with for the minutes I've played with it. And I think you're right. Retinex is another very powerful tool in this tool bag in Photox.
Yeah. For this
Can't recommend
particular
this
image,
package.
the local Retinex might be even better because the level of detail in different areas and level of obscuration varies. I always try global first and then use local if it didn't work well enough.
Yes, you can work on the entire image or any part of it that you choose, and you can select that part in many different ways. Automatically with your cursor walking on it. It'd be better with a smart pen instead of a finger cursor. And whatever. A lot of different ways to play the game. I can't recommend Photox enough. And beginners catch on quickly with the least bit of help. And that F1 button is there for just about every operation. Also, I think that's all I wanted to show you on my demos at the moment.
You close Photox.
Would you like a quick example of using Photox's warp perspective to solve a puzzle?
Not right now.
I would, but not at this point.
Okay.
Can we please remind me when we get through the heavy stuff, okay?
Roger, Roger.
So on this one, I like that. Or we could put it off till next month and give it good time. Anyway, so that's big news. Two major items. One is our operating systems, many of them, and another one is on Photox. Wonderful new tools added to incredible existing tools. Two more big deals. This one, about an hour's worth of video, I think no sound, so it'll work in most any language, although the prompts are in English. Maybe they're changeable. And this is just going to walk you all the way through Photox, except it's not up to date. It's ancient. I think it dates back to about May. And it's really good. And this one, for the tricky stuff we've been doing, like, I don't mean that. I mean, where did I go? This one. For the gallery screen and things like that, again, it's about half a year old, but it's awfully good. Let's just take a quick look. Full screen it. And that's just an ad, but this is it. And it's off and running. It's already doing tricks with Photox, and they're about 2 minutes per each transform, and that adds up to 54 minutes. So this is just one transform you're looking at that you can do with Photox. And here he is in it. You too can do these things. And he's saving it as a new version of the same image. And he's got it for later. He can revert, he can do other things to it and save those if he wants. Have I mentioned that Photox is a very nice program? You're going to like this stuff. It comes with really good documentation too. I asked Mike if he's going to update this, and he says at this time, he thinks the changes are so few that if you learn how to do some of these, you'll know how to do those too. Again, you have the new F1 button that is up to date. You want me to make it smaller?
No, yeah, so you can
Yes
get
or
out
no?
of, yes, so you can get out of it. Go on
Okay.
to the next thing. Close.
Jill's pointing out that now I've
Live
So-
streaming
so
is
that's
on.
two big deals in some detail. This is somebody else's article. I think it comes actually from an editor in alternative2.net. Was that alternative? Do I mean alternative 2?
Yeah,
That's it, that's it.
alternative.net. Oh, you
No,
made it.
that's a typo. Jill wants a
Oh.
TO before the dot. Good. We'll have that fixed tonight. And in any case, this will go to alternative2.net, which many of you are familiar with. If you have something you like, but it costs $1,200 and only runs on an Apple, you can put it in here and they'll tell you what is like it that works for you. What's interesting that runs on an Apple and it costs money? Anybody?
Nobody's on an Apple?
Well, good for you.
I get hand-me-down apples.
Do you have anything on it you can think of that would cost money?
Oh, if so, my daughter paid for it with my credit card before she gave it to me.
No. I just want to know what the name of a program is so I can look for alternatives to it. Well, I'll try
How
something
about
like,
Photoshop?
yeah, good. We'll go for real Photoshop. And for Photoshop itself, we can learn all about it.
Oh, now you have to
But
choose Mac Windows
they-
or whatever.
They are going to give us a bunch of options we can use. Can we have them up higher too? Nope, down here. Okay, and in my case, I want to know about Linux. And I want to know about not just free. I don't want to know about free proprietary. I want to know about open source, unless I want to look for the expensive ones. And things like Photoshop that'll work. It's got a big list. Really? They're kidding.
Kim?
That's all it came up with? Oh,
No.
and I can click on it and read about it. And they say it's not just for what I want, but it's covering Linux and it's covering free open source. So it's got only the ones I'm interested that are like something I kind of wish I had over on my Linux operating system. And got a lot of opinions from people onto a different one, and so on and so forth. So that's one way to look for alternatives. We'll be coming back and talking about things like it a little later.
Next subject is modern.
Way I was doing something else with it, I think.
Here.
No, maybe not. Maybe it was not that. Thank you. And so this is the article, and the article from them. Yeah, it's a typo, but it's not by accident. And
Probably to keep Google from suing them.
we have meters like that, but they don't quite look like that. And this is a whole list of things they're particularly recommending to also keep you off of Google, which you also can do from that other search menu. but this is an article on the subject as well. And I think just for discussion, we strongly recommend DuckDuckGo as a search engine. There's a few other good alternatives, but there's a lot of bad ones. They track you. Okay, let's see. I think that's all I wanted to do with that now. Off with that, you switch it, and I look at it, and
You're down to modern.
good. So alternative.net has been there for many years. It's got a huge collection of good answers, but not always the best. And you can get on and change the rating with your vote and your comments. So it keeps getting better, kind of like open source software itself. Here's a brand new one. It's actually been out for about half a year, but Rudra Saraswat, who's that 13-year-old who puts out Ubuntu-Unity, which we're running on, he just sent around a notice to people on his email list saying, please take a look at this one on several counts. Let's do it. He says, for one thing, it's up in GitHub where you can go get a copy by clicking right in here, releases, just a little under the top. There it is near the bottom when it first opens. And you could click there. Let's try it. And here is where you can actually get yourself a copy. Again, I recommend, and we use the app image. And what's going on here is this is a software store, and he's pretty sharp, and he talks to a lot of people, and he's inviting them to get aboard on this new tool. You put this much on your computer, and you can run the database, including modifying it if you're in the group for it, signed in. And he's saying, hey, guys, it was easy making it. Now, please populate it. And Photox isn't in it, so maybe by tomorrow. And let's go back a layer, not to download it. See, on the screen that looked very uninformative, other than that, you just have to scroll down a little and it gets very informative. That's quite informative indeed. Hot off the press 1.0.0, and there's a lot of different things you can read about it. You can talk about forks of it. It's open source, it can be forked. And what's nice about it is it includes support for snaps, flatpaks, and apt packages and debs all together. And if you've got a good one that you think ought to be in there, he's saying, please send it along. If you've got a feature you think should be improved or added, please send it along. Tell us a bug, report it. He's being as helpful as he knows how. And in fact, you could have downloaded it from here as well as the item I showed you. So just scroll down a little and you'll be able to read a lot about it. Watch it working. And
So this is like a video.
this is a little video of him operating it. I think he made a terrible mistake putting in Google Chrome, but here he is installing it that easily. And he's doing it from a deb file, which is a lot nicer than
Snaps.
Google's favorite ways in, or snaps. So there you go. I think this is very attractive, and therefore I think I'm going to take a look, and I recommend for a lot of you who have some expertise with which things work well in Linux, put him on here. Let's do something for him instead of the other way around. And then it'll be valuable for all of us. Um,
You want to go back?
so let's see. I guess so. I guess now. Do I want to close that one? Probably doesn't
I did.
matter. Oh, good. Glad you know what I'm doing.
PTV,
Dennis.
Dennis.
And Dennis Payne always gives us a game. Today, Dennis gives us something in the same general category, a powerful tool that keeps on improving. And Joe, give it. I'll put my link on. Dennis, if you want different one, tell us later, and we're going to give you the screen.
Okay.
So, Jill,
Oh, wait a minute. I need to go here and unhook from our screen sharing. Come on, guys. Stop.
You stopped your screen sharing. I think you should be seeing my screen now.
Yes, thank you.
excellent. Proceed, Dennis, and thanks for coming.
Now, hopefully you'll be able to hear me well. I didn't pre-record this one, so.
Full screen.
So this is Pi TV. It's a video editor. I first started using it for some stop animations for Legos. And at that time, it was very much of I would load it up, I would do my changes, and then I would save because it crashed a lot. It doesn't crash as much now, so that's much better about it. So this is a new project. You go over and you have a timeline down here, and you have a media library up here, some effects, and so what you need to do is you need to import in some media to compose to make a video. So you can import in images. So here I have a whole bunch of images, and I can add them all in. Now they appear up in the media library up here. They are not in the timeline yet. Now I have ordered these images in such a way that I can just drag and drop them into the timeline. If you don't order them that way and you need to drag them in individually, it's an awful process. So make sure your name files so that it's easy to do that. And so now we've dragged in the images and we can zoom in. So there's a default amount of time it will display an image. I don't exactly remember where that setting is. Probably under project settings. No, it's not here, but there's a setting somewhere that controls how long the images will appear. So I have switched it to a smaller value, and that way you can see it move along. Now, you might have noticed that even if you had a good connection, which maybe you guys won't be able to see the animation anyways, but when it's playing in here, it sometimes doesn't show the whole animation. And that's just because it doesn't have the ability to render it in real time like that. So that's something that it has to do sometimes. But when you actually render the image with this render button up here, it will actually go over and render all the images together, and it will look like a fluid animation, assuming the images actually end up being a fluid animation. So that's if you wanted to do just stop animation or regular animation. If, however, you're going over and trying to make a more complex video. You might go over and say, I want to combine, I don't know, let's see here. We can take this video here, add that into the media library. So now you'll see that I have the video in here. I can add a new layer and move this one down into this layer. As you can see, this video is a little bit longer. But we can go over and say, well, I don't really want this whole video. I want to chop it off at this point. So you can click the split clips at playhead, and it makes two different parts. And you can do that as many times as you want. And then you can go over and say, well, this particular ending clip I don't want anymore, so we'll get rid of that. Right now, this video has both sound and video. If for some reason we wanted to separate them, you can ungroup the clips. So now I can move the, now I should be able to move the audio separately from the video. And if you said, well, I'm just going to add in some new audio, I can just delete this audio completely and just import in a audio clip and then add it into here. Let's import in a different video as well. So let's add in another video. Now, by default, it has some transitions that it does. So right here, it's already doing some sort of transition. So in this case, well, let's see if we can make it the transition a little longer. So in this case, it's doing a fade in for the transition. But we can go over here and choose a different type of transition if we want.
Dennis, did you create that transition simply by overlapping the edges?
Yes. When you overlap it, it automatically puts in a transition.
Ooh.
And then you can go over and change it so that it does a transition that slowly opens up like that.
Oh, nice.
It has a lot of different transition effects. In addition to just these transitions, you have other effect libraries that you can do. I don't know what most of these do at the moment, so I can't really offer much for suggestions for these. I think I played with something for audio at one point. I think I played around with, but that's about it. Yeah, I think I did some filtering on the audio, but that's all I've really played with for the effects library, so I don't know entirely what they can do. But so this is the basic process that you would go through, is you go through and add in all the media you want, and then you drag them onto the timeline and clip things out that you need. So if you don't need the whole video, you clip it out. So as an example, I made a trailer for Mojotron. And so when making the trailer, I ended up having a whole bunch of different video clips that I took and put them all together and clipped out the parts that I wanted. I added in this screen that allows you to just to tell you what's coming up and what the features are. I went over and redid the audio so that the audio you see here for this game clip, this is just the sound effects. It is not the music that's in the game. So the music, I created a separate audio track that just has that. So that way the music is playing continuously and it's not changing from when you're starting the different game clips. So this one has only 2 layers, but it can get more complicated. So for the Kickstarter, I had a lot of video clips that I made and images that I made and that I had to combine together. And in some cases, so for screens like here, I wanted to be able to have the ability to add in these 2 images overlaid on top of a video that was already made. And so it allows you to do that. And
Wow.
you see the same thing over in some of these clips over here, where I'm overlaying images on top of the video. The tool has a lot of capabilities in it. I don't think I've used half of the capabilities, but I hopefully you can see how you might make use of it.
Wow,
Any
thank you.
questions?
I've used PT, not a question, but I've used PTV to cut out sections of videos for my critter cams and then stitch a couple of critter cam videos together and things like that. But I never, I had tried to do a time lapse, but I couldn't figure out how to stitch the JPEGs together. And it looks a lot simpler than it may have been before I started using PTV too. So I'm glad this evening, I'm going to attempt to revisit that.
Hollywood, take notice. Here comes Joe, and Dennis is already there. Folks, first of all, Dennis, thank you. Folks, Dennis Payne uses this to put together these meetings. We can find them online. And just, I'm really appreciative for the recording, but seeing how you do it is a triple treat. I'm going to try some too. Watch out for your critter cams, Joe.
Right. Let me put us back
Okay.
on.
So, sorry I didn't have a game for you this time. I've found a proprietary game that was fun to play, so I've been stuck in it.
This is a much better game. This game lets you play all the other things. I like it.
Okay, I need to ask, is our agenda back up on the screen? Apparently not.
Sound right?
No,
yet.
I'm seeing.
Okay, let me see. Share the screen. Come on, guys, share. Start. There we go. Select window or screen, which is this one. No. Okay, NatickFOSS, Jesse Mead. Allow. And now, there we go. Are we back to our agenda?
I think you're sharing Chrome, not your whole screen.
Really? Okay. Ah, right. Thank you. Okay.
So simple, only a child can do it.
Reminds me of the
Entire
safety
screen.
caps
Got
on
it.
pill bottles.
Allow.
Yeah, and where's a child when you need one?
There you go. Now is it working?
Yes.
Thank you.
Good. Okay, hot hardware. We're already getting too close to 4:30. I think we'll go to 5 anyway. But we boy, cover a lot of good things. Under hot hardware, this is interesting, but people who want to know about it can read it later. It's about formatting your hard drive or SSD, and there's a trade-off to consider. Sun outages. This is a quickie you can read later, but basically, a lot of what we do on the internet is using satellites and dishes to relay through the satellites, or satellites to relay between the dishes. And what happens when the sun almost aligns or gets at a critical angle? What does it affect, when and how, and what can be done about it? I thought it was an interesting article because it's sort of in the house we play in there. These are about MMS. I put them in because they might be a great hit for somebody, MMS or not. We sell computers all loaded up with Ubuntu Unity and more. And some people like those a lot. By the way, we have in stock at the moment a few of them that are surprisingly high resolution, 2560 by 1440, not the usual good 1920 by 1080. So if anyone's interested, Christmas is coming, get someone one or tell someone to get you one. But we also have computer cases to go with them, and we've got a bunch too many of those computer cases. So $10 to $20 for cases that look like new. They're not, but we selected them carefully originally, and variety of sizes and shapes and colors. And if you live near us, come over, take a look, bring the computer or the dimensions of the computer with you, and I'll be surprised if you don't find something good. So I'm mentioning it with lead time for that. The other thing I mentioned earlier that we sell thumb drives for installing Ubuntu Unity. We can put 5 other Linux versions on them also, or you can once you get it, because they are now formatted as Ventoy drives, and because we've now doubled their size to 32 gigabytes. So you can just throw 2 more, 20 more ISO files on them, and you'll see a listing when it boots up of all the choices you have. You just highlight the one you want, press enter, and it's loading up into your computer, adjusting for your hardware, not writing anything, not storing anything until you tell it to do that with a separate tool that's aboard. Very nice way to go. I'm mentioning it again because we've got a link to the Ventoy trick if you want to do it yourself. It's made these thumb drives wonderful, and you can do it too. So if you want to pick one up from us, swell. If you want to try the same tricks yourself, there's the link to do it. And thank you, Jerry Feldman, for making that easier. Let's see. Cookie preferences, pop-ups. I did it already. When we came up in the Ubuntu list of favorites, I set the preferences for their tracking me. That's what this is about. This has another way you can look at it. Your internet life needs a reboot. Read it when you want it. I think it's more about what's been going on in the past 2 years and what's wrong with the internet bringing the wrong stuff to people. But it's a good read. Kind of on the edge of security, privacy, and freedom. It's certainly going to take away our freedom if it doesn't get under better control, and privacy too. But here we are in the real ones. Update Chrome, Windows, and Zoom right now. That's the title. Don't believe it, because you're in Linux and you're not using those tools, with the possible exception of Zoom. But read the article and appreciate that you're in Linux. If you know somebody who isn't, send them the article. This is new and this is considered fairly urgent. They just downloaded it from Critical, and the only reason is because they now have a patch. It's still critical if you're not patching. OpenSSL patches 2 high severity vulnerabilities. This one's been getting a lot of talk anyway up on our chat platform, and I've got a link to where you can get involved if you're not already involved and if it interests you. The patch is one that we got, by the way, a day or two ago as OpenSSL 3.0.5. I'm mentioning that because I think some people got 3.0.7. I'm not sure I'm correct on that, and I'm not sure that it's not just because we have different hardware or different software, but that's the one we got dealt. I'm interested. And Geek Squad phishing scam and removal, you can read later. It's worth a read. And mobile phones, a privacy battleground, is a good read for what we're interested in. A lot of the same topic coming around from different corners. Other people butting in and feeding you a biased set of information that you didn't ask for. Okay, let's see. FOSS Fun, same. I think we can skip through that. New character AI website interviews for Linux OS. You want to see what this AI had to say in the interview about Linux and Windows and lots of other stuff. And secondly, on the same link, you can try it yourself and see, give it a different question, see what it has to tell you. Pretty interesting stuff with AI. The second one stayed in the same game. AI designing virtual architecture. You give it the dimensions, you give it the ground you're building it on, you give it the general descriptions or specific ones, as in alternative2.net. You tell it something you kind of like and you want things sort of like that. And take a quick look at it. You can do this later on your own, but it does come up with interesting examples. You like that one? Hanging over the water?
No, you have to hit the X up here.
Have to hit the I agree.
You have to hit it
But
twice.
I'm not going to. That's just a clue. Have fun with it. Now we're ready for questions and answers. Did we want to do that other demo now, or do we want to put it off till next month? Was that
Which
Bob that
other?
proposed that?
By other, do you mean Mastodon or
Yes.
something else?
Good. Okay. Please. Oh, I'm sorry. I missed it when I should have hit it. My fault. But I'm doing a lot better today, I'm glad to say.
For explicit, was that a yes, please?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Bill
Then I
Ricker.
will share mine and hope that either overlays yours or Jill unshares yours, but
I
I'm
didn't
glad to see
unshare
we
it.
have an infinite regress since I've been using my infinite regress background.
Jill is adjusting.
Is it okay? Is it unlocked now?
Yep. I think I could pop over it anyway.
Yes.
Okay, so close to a year ago, Algot showed us Mastodon as an alternative to Twitter that was not only free Libre open source software, but also federated and decentralized, which are sort of the goals of the crypto coins, anarchist Ponzi schemes. That well, you don't need a blockchain to be decentralized. Uh, but right here we have the default web view of Mastodon with a post that is showing a screenshot of the multi-column view. So you can choose to look at it in the web like this, or multi-column, which is more like TweetDeck. The right-hand cartoon is commentary on the current flight of users from Twitter to alternative platforms, which is really only a trickle of the deluge it could be. But even so, the people who weren't into free Libre tools before the apartheid emerald miner's son got into destroying social media companies has like swamped some of the volunteer capacity. And are you going to show me a larger version of the picture or not?
I just came up with a nothing background.
Yeah, I know. I don't like it. But anyway, it as Tantan and Captain Haddock. Captain Haddock says, "What a year, huh?" And Tantan says it's only been 6 days since Musk acquired Twitter. Posse is the abbreviation for publish on your own site, syndicate elsewhere, or sometimes syndicate everywhere, which is the way of breaking walled gardens patterns in social media. This is a good thing to observe. I have a few more such like, but we'll save those for later if there's time. What I'm going to do is try to explain what we're talking about. I think we know why we're talking about a migration from Twitter. So what's the Fediverse? There are a lot of usually free and Libre open source software that are all based on a W3C, which is the World Wide Web Consortium standards group, has a protocol called ActivityPub, which is the federated social networking protocol. These break down into microblogging, macroblogging, which they call writing on this page. And then there are media-like things for non-written media. This gives you a view of the number of choices available. This project was started back in 2010, 12 years ago, with the Diaspora or Diaspora Star as a free Libre alternative to Twitter, Friendica, which was a free Libre alternative to Facebook, and or RSS was already dying then, and GNU Social was GNU Social was the first microblogger that was a sort of Twitter equivalent, whereas the other two were macro bloggers, more like Facebook. The rest of these are all started mid last decade. So at least 4 and maybe 8 years after the first two. The current leading one in microblogging, which is to say Twitterish, is Mastodon, which Elgot presented 8 months ago. But there's a YouTube equivalent, something that's good for picture sharing, something that's good for streaming stolen music or music you make yourself. And then there are all sorts of more old school things. Oh, where's my other picture? My other picture's broken. Oh well. I had a graph that I made myself of the connections between the various brands that would show that Mastodon is the one that is interoperable with the most others on the list. We'll find that picture later. Aside from the federated, centralized, decentralized, free and Libre, there are other choices. There is at least one and probably several companies selling turnkey social media applications to people that want to open their own private walled garden social media for their clients or their fans, that is not on anybody else's platform, but where the moderation is completely under the control of the sponsor. I'm on a beta for one of these, which is how I know about it. And the pricing is quite attractive. High 3 figures for 1 year for a reasonable number of users. Which if you're a corporate or celebrity, is nothingness. My friend Mark is deferring redoing the kitchen for a year in order to try this instead for the business. So it's a good thing. You've probably heard in the news that the GQP MAGA Red Hat folks have left platforms where they get fact-checked or banned for being abusive to a Pravda Social or Parley, and apparently Newsmax has their own, which might be one of those turnkey walled gardens. And I've never even heard of Rumble, but it was listed as the other alt-right alternative Twitter choice. You probably don't want to go to any of those. For old school, well, Reddit, Slashdot, 4chan, and all sorts of other PHP emulations of the old dial-up bulletin boards are still out there. They're ugly text, 1990s graphics design at the newest, but they're there. Internet relay chat still exists. It's decentralized, but not federated. We went through a little heartache when the most popular IRC server for the free and open source community got sold to new corporate owners who were unfriendly. But so there's a new server. But some communities maintain their own servers. That's a good thing. Slack is the commercial multimedia replacement for IRC for corporate use. I know some Free Libre open projects that are using Slack in addition to or instead of IRC because it's what the programmers and DevOps people use in their day job. So it's what they want to use for their open source since they work both sides of the street at all hours of the day. And I'm even doing that for some clients and some projects. I don't like it because I'd rather be dog fooding Free Libre. But it's hard to argue with it works when somebody else is willing to front up the small amount of money for a corporate license for the year.
Bill, could you translate what is dog fooding?
Dog fooding. Dog fooding is when you consume the product of your own factory. So if you make dog food, you have to eat dog food for lunch so that you know the quality you're making. It's a disgusting metaphor, but you know, there's a reason the quality of programmer tools user interfaces tends to be better than the quality of programs that programmers write for people that, you know, I'd never use this, but I'm getting paid to build it. Well, then the user interface is garbage because the programmer doesn't use it. Interface on Photox is excellent because Mike is probably the biggest user of Photox there is. He's dog fooding. He's using what he makes. Like bike shedding, dog fooding is a metaphor that's just become a word. So dog fooding floss means we're using Jitsi, a Free Libre product, for our Free Libre meeting instead of using Zoom. By the way, Zoom had an outage during our meeting today. Aren't you glad you weren't on Zoom?
Thank you.
And I was notified of that on Mastodon. It may still be sitting in my messages. Mailing lists are decentralized, and if you forward something from one mailing list to another to a third, the subject line gets longer, but you've effectively federated. But as with bulletin boards, it's very old school in how it handles multimedia. Google sort of killed off RSS when they made a very popular RSS reader and then didn't support it. But in the world of, in the posse metaphor that we gave earlier, having a blog or some other self-publishing with an RSS feed is a way to start into the posse format, and it's inherently federated and decentralized. I noticed somebody was trying to restart the concept of web rings, where individual websites would link into a linked list of affiliated websites on the same topic called a web ring. They were that too. Now, there's a Mastodon alternative. Mastodon is the leading alternative for Twitter. Counter Social is an overtly political Twitter alternative run by a gray hat hacktivist that is radically anti-troll. He blocks Russian IP addresses because such a high percentage of trolls come from Russia, and such a high percentage of connections from Russia in English are trolls. He just blocks them. This is considered excessively controlling by some people in the Free Libre community who have, but supposedly Mastodon, each node can have their own moderation policy and their own acceptable use policy and just federate between. But Counter Social has been cut off from the Fediverse because it was so radical. given that it's secretive as to who the operator is, I have, I'm not ready to endorse it. It's also not federated. It's centralized. To the extent that he decentralizes for scaling, it's no different than Twitter having edge computing in every Amazon data center around the world. So I don't think it's an answer to what I'm looking for, because the federated and decentralized are as important as not having fake news that's really fake, as opposed to real news that somebody with a red hat calls fake because they don't want to believe it. So, but it's interesting. It's there. So, Mastodon. Mastodon is microblogging in which we say toot instead of tweet, because we have a mastodon, which is to say a furry elephant, as instead of a little bird. So they toot with their trunks, right? Yeah, maybe.
Better be.
Yeah. Yes, they toot from the trunk. Absolutely. So instead of saying Twitterstorians, there are histodonts as a hashtag, but you still use hashtag. There is no verified check mark. I think there is a way to verify identity by, just showing that you own the website that you link to in your profile. That's a kind of verification, but that's what we normally do everywhere. It's not Twitter deciding you're a good journalist, so you get a special blue check. Instead of having edge cloud eventual consistency databases, each individually operated instance acts as an edge server, and they federate very much like Usenet used to do. Each node can decide what content it accepts from its neighbors and what content it rejects. Nodes joining the Fediverse are expected to declare what their policy is. Do you allow sexy posts without a content warning? Or do you ban all sexy content? Or are you in between? And well, as long as there's a content warning and you have to click through to see it, it's not going to burn anybody's eyes, so it's okay. And same thing for illegal content and for yada, yada, yada. And if you don't want to accept any illegal content onto your node, you don't accept feeds at all from sites that allow it without marking it. As an example, my chosen node does not accept federation with inadequate spam policing, so that I know that ought to be an obvious one for journalists that claims to have a no spam policy, but actually is 98% spam, won't connect to it. A friend of mine who's moving into journalism from another career thought that masthead.social would be a great place to hang their hat in this new world. And they couldn't follow me. I couldn't follow them because, they're the only non-spam content in the last month. So they're looking for a new site. Now, since it is decentralized, how to pick what server to create your user ID on is very important. Because it's going to be part of your identity and it's going to be your front door into the Fediverse. On the other hand, you could pick several if you have multiple interests. You could have an account on a free and open source one, and on an art one, and on a sports one, so that your different personalities don't pollute each other's feeds. That could be good too. But still, you want to go shopping for servers, and there are a couple of wizards and a couple of articles documenting this that I've linked to here. The famous nodes Mastodon.social. Okay. You're probably all aware that several years ago, the Internet Assigned Numbers Agency and the Internet Governance accepted a whole slew of new top level domains like social and uh, academe and co-op and radio and
And click.
et cetera, et cetera, which uh, allow people to get cheap but descriptive domain names. An awful lot of social media projects live on .social. A lot of networking things live on the country code top level domain .io, which is British Overseas Territories. Forget what the I stands for. Is it? Oh, maybe it's Indian
A
Ocean.
lot of .io email.
Yeah, and that's British Indian Ocean Territories country code getting abused for cash. They'll take the money. So a lot of things will be either .social or .io. Unfortunately, both of the free Libre ones are waitlisted invite only at the moment because, of course, we were the first people to flee Twitter, and they've been hammered, and they need to figure out how to verify that new users fleeing Twitter aren't spammers, as well as upgrade their servers and figure out how to pay for upgrading their servers. In the cloud, upgrading servers is easy aside from the money. So a lot of them will have Mastodon dot subdomain to indicate that that's what it is. Some of them, Mastodon is abbreviated because we like abbreviating in domain names. The article on the previous page said that the person picked social.coop, cooperative, because of a really strong code of conduct and it's activism centered. So some of us might like that. Other specialty ones, Algot's on Mastodon Art because of his other interests. Since I have a call sign, Mastodon.radio was a natural home for me. Science communicators, museums, art galleries, and archivists are glamorous. I'm assuming 10 Forward Social is Star Wars fandom. I'm sorry, Star Trek fandom. My son-in-law would be horrified at that gaffe. Whether tabletop social is board games or tabletop role-playing or tabletop army games, I don't know. It's going to be one of those three. They all use tabletop. It's also possible for less than the elongated muskrat. Emerald Air is charging for verified status to have your own turnkey hosted Mastodon instance at a name of your choice for only $6 a month for the lowest throughput rated node at masto.host, which is one of two, the other being Federation Space Bear, recommended by the FediTips account that we were looking at on the first tab we came into. The final note here is there are an awful lot of natural communities that might have their own hosts that aren't in the indexes yet, even if they're already setting them up. So, more will follow. Private or direct messages, DMs, are constructed differently, but are no more secure than they ever were in Twitter world. The system operators can read your DMs and so could respond to a request from a government or from a private investigator with a stack of 20s. They're not end-to-end encrypted. They're just a post that has visibility limited to the addressee. And in fact, that's how you create one. There's no separate button to make a direct message to somebody. There's no requirement to follow somebody or be followed by them to send them a direct message. You just create a post and then click on the world icon at the bottom to toggle it to an envelope to make it from world visible to address visible. That's it. So it's not obvious how to do it the first time you want to do it because there's no button. We saw Fetty tips at the shortened Mastodon. Nope, stop that. I can't click things. If click is go forward. And there's even a utility that if you decide your first host on Mastodon Fediverse isn't where you want to stay, that will move your profile, your followers, and your follows. And I did the bolding backwards. Isn't that special?
Live streaming is on.
Thank you, Dennis. So the fact that when you move your primary profile from the first place you drop into to a more appropriate place, whether more appropriate is birds of a feather or you like their abuse moderation code of conduct policy better, that your followers will automatically be redirected to your new location, as well as the list of people you were following, and your profile description comes with you. That's awesome. So that they're making federation work. So we already saw the basic Mastodon web interface and how you can toggle it between TweetDeck column mode and simplified mode. There are two other alternative web interfaces that I haven't tried. There is an official and an alternate application in the Android store, and I believe the situation is the same in the Apple store for your portable devices. If you have a portable device that's running native Linux, well, then we need to do something else. Unfortunately, my Mamo is long since died. So open devices in the pocket is harder than it used to be.
Oh, excellent, Bill. Thank you so much. What a great way to end at 5. I do want to ask you and anyone else who presented to send along any links that you'd like to have in the agenda. And I hope, Bill, you've got a link for the actual presentation text that was on screen.
I was thinking of sending the presentation text as an HTML email to the discussion list, since it's a point in time capture of something that's very much a moving target. Putting it as a dead web page doesn't seem to be as useful as some of my other things.
Well, can you just update it later so that the same link will see the newer version?
If I were committing to doing that, yes.
Bill, I have a question. Do you know of any YouTube or other place videos of how to use this? Because it looks a little complicated, and I have never been on Twitter.
Glad.
Right. And if you're not jonesing for a replacement for Twitter, the Mastodon, isn't as obvious as the macro blogging alternatives. Now I'm going to see if I can find my here's the diagram that somehow fell out of the slides. The green boxes are microblogging platforms that feature short messages with possibly attached media, which is Twitter-like. The cyan ones are your macro blogging, which is to say what we used to call blogging, which is also what Facebook can do, that and microblogging both, as well as some media sharing. And Twitter is here with a Twitter blue outline. Well, Twitter blue is halfway between the two blues, but you know what I mean.
Right.
And I've marked that it has both migration and cross-posting support to Mastodon, and those lines are tunneling under GNU Social, so my GraphViz layout didn't work perfectly.
Well, I'm thinking of discussion group type things, knitting and gardening and things like that.
Yes. And if find a community and curate a feed so that you're seeing the community and mostly just the community. That is doable in either microblogging or macro blogging or things like Facebook. Frankly, I found Google's old G Plus platform to be very good for that sort of thing, and they killed it. And they're killing it is part of why after my high school reunion, I didn't close my Facebook account that I'd created to help track down classmates for the reunion. So the communities with you know Facebook groups sort of set up miniature. They're not fully walled gardens. They're designated gardens within the larger walled park.
Right.
Like knitting.
That's what I'm currently using.
Yeah, and if any of these three macro blogging platforms are particularly good for that, I wasn't looking for that information last night looking into Mastodon. If New England Knitters Club or National Knitters Club invested the $20 or $50 a month to set up mastodon.knitters.us, you'd have a community. But where you could do Q&A threads, but I don't know of of course, with just a hashtag, you can declare a subject and have people find each other, follow each other, and then you're curating your feed with hashtags and following people that reply to interesting topics and interesting people. And basically, that's how I've survived the hellscape that's Twitter, is aggressively curating my feed. And whenever they try to force me into an algorithmic feed, switching back to, no, give me the latest of the people I actually follow. Thank you very much. I know you want me to use the algorithm. Please don't. And twice a year I have to reset it because they try to force me.
Okay, thank you.
The red boxes here, by the way, are the three that are multimedia centric. The audio, the video, and the photo sharing. And you can basically see here that Mastodon has the most heterogeneous federation, as well as the most forks. The purple lines are forks that are mostly equivalent but different. And Counter Social here with the gray hat border is the one that doesn't federate. So this is a non-federating fork line, whereas everything else here is at least unilateral and usually bilateral federation. But only these two nodes, Mastodon and Friendica on the macro blogging side, were marked in the directory I was using as having a solution for RSS updates to your main website blogging area to be propagated out onto your Mastodon or your Friendica. I would expect a number of these others have ability to use an RSS bot, but it wasn't advertised. But if you're following the Posse publish your own stuff
Is on.
yourself and then syndicate everywhere, the RSS bot seems like a good way to have your cake and eat it too, so that nobody owns your content except yourself. What the all the other federated nodes have is your announcement of the new content on your website. Well, I will debate with myself if I want to try to update. Looky here. Elgot posted about NatickFOSS back in April. Oh, I will ask myself if I'm willing to update this, and if I am, I'll post it to my Posse site and send the link.
Okay, great.
Excellent.
Bob,
It's a
why
good
do you
time.
have a blue frame around your? Were you talking?
I was going to say, is this a good time to wrap up? Because it's after 5.
Oh, I was wondering if Bob was saying something or we were just hearing his keyboard.
Oh,
I got disconnected, and the result is I'm not muted. Sorry about that.
Okay. Well, I didn't want to ignore you if you were trying to say something interesting.
No, my keyboard was talking. That's all.
This has happened.
is everybody comfy with saying goodbye? I'm looking out the window at a clear blue sky, getting towards sunset, low, bright sunlight, and it's reminding me this has been a wonderful agenda and actual talks on a lot of topics to keep us glued to the computers. Enjoy, but that blue sky, this weekend is going to be a good weekend for getting outdoors. So also go outdoors, take your camera, take a picture, develop it in Linux using Photox, and I hope we have some wonderful pictures and a lot of other good productivity from all the good tools on today's agenda. Thank you, everybody.
Good.
And
I see
enjoy
that you and Jill voted.
Oh, we voted. I want to remind everyone what they told me. Vote early, but not often. And here we go. I'm qualified.
I sent in
actually
my
received-
ballots. I got my
we
ballots.
received all
and
4 mail-in ballots this time instead of only 3. So
I got my my wife and I got our mail-in ballots on Thursday, put them in the drop box at the Framingham Library on Water Street on Saturday. And I didn't think to check. I checked the Secretary of State and the ballots have been accepted. So I have officially voted.
Cool. My son-in-law works around the corner from City Hall, so he'll probably drop ours off City Hall Plaza Saturday.
We voted in person while we were driving nearby, and they were so happy to see us. There were other people voting, but the waiting line was maybe 5 minutes. Very, very easy to do early.
Nice. The other thing for this weekend is remember it's clock change weekend. You get an extra hour of sleep Sunday morning.
Phew.
I
Yeah.
consider this a wonderful birthday present.
That's my alarms on my phone.
Right. If your alarm is on your phone, it automatically will
Yep.
reset. You can't mess up.
It's much better than it was 40 odd years ago when we didn't have that technology. Yes.
Right.
Oh, not exactly open source, but interesting. I picked up a very inexpensive older GPS at the MIT flea market, which had a hiccup when they had a Y2K-like issue with GPS a few years back because it was running on weak numbers, and it only went 1,000 weeks without wrapping around. And using the Windows laptop that I bought at the flea market that will become Ubuntu, I could download new firmware and fix it. So
Great.
That's good.
$20 for GPS. I like it.
Yeah.
Nice.
He thought he was taking me.
Okay, we'll see you next month.
What do I do?
He said, we'll see you next month.
Farewell, farewell.
Thanks everybody for a great meeting.
Cheers.